Saturn retrograding through 20th degree of Aquarius. The big white dove, a message bearer. This is about looking for our rewards in heaven. The dove follows Noah's flood to promise the end of calamity and the re-emergence of peace. In Sufism, it symbolizes the descent of Holy Spirit. Every spiritual step is the result of a victory over forces of inertia or destruction, teaches Dane Rudhyar. Without stress or calamity, we would not know what spiritual peace is and its sacred value. We are promised that there will be a spiritual blessing at the end of a time of troubles. Sooner or later, we always get what we have earned. This is about victory over forces of entropy and destruction. And we're saying those who doubt live in doubt. Those of faith will live in faith. So the message is fairly clear that there are hard times and they come to an end. There could not be harder times really than what Noah is said to have experienced. If we can't access the earth, we have no life. We have no reality. And the flood was an overwhelming emotion of inappropriateness. It just wasn't okay what people were doing then. And there was this terrible flood to wash away everything that was wrong. And yet, it came to an end. Now that's a little bit indicative of where we are right now in our own personal history. We've got this terrible situation on the planet, and it is brought about because of a flood of emotion. In one sense, we're following our hormones a little bit too much, whether it's the men who are going out to war with their testosterone and doing other things to show off and be rather insensitive to the needs of others, or whether it's women insisting that they have another baby when we've already got plenty on the planet. It's not to blame. The individual is not to blame. It's just that's what we're subject to. But it's not okay, not as a species. We have to come to a point where we can balance our physical urges with an amount of civilized consciousness. That's what civilization is trying to do, is to limit our urges. And we're in this time now where once again we've come as a species to the point of destruction, and we need to have the cleansing in order to remind ourselves of the price we pay for overindulgence in our feelings. Now, on a personal level, we know this. We know that we cannot just eat and eat and eat, or drink alcohol, or smoke dope to the nth degree. We can't do all of that. We can do a little bit, but we can't do it to the extent that we want to do it. Nor can we go on buying things that we don't need and throwing clothes away when we don't bother to wash them because they're so cheap to replace. And the same with food, not using what's left of the food up, but just throwing it away. I've seen people do this. Staggering to see it, but they do this, lots of people. And we can't do it anymore. However, the dove is the message bringer, and it promises the end of the troubled times that we're facing. And that's what we have to hope for. Now, Saturn is going back through this degree again and having another think. What does it want from this Sabian degree? What does it learn? What does it teach? Because these planets are interactive with the Sabian symbols. This is not a totally straightforward concept, so you might want to think about this. Everything that we study at all, everything that is at all, is simply a configuration of energy. That is because there is only energy. Life is energy. There's nothing else. And it takes form. And it takes form of things. And it takes the form of events and scenarios and unfoldings over a duration. And it's all form. And so what we have here is Saturn that brings form. Saturn says this amorphous, ill-defined energy configuration is not pleasing to me. Saturn doesn't do amorphous or ill-defined. It doesn't do that at all. What Saturn does is say, right, let's see what's the simplest way I can make sense of this, give a shape to this, give meaning to this, in the sense of what was will be for a bit longer. Saturn introduces duration, which is otherwise absent. And if we don't have duration, we can't get things. We're not immediately able to be enlightened as to the whole implications of a moment. It's just not within our capability, not down here in the earth plane, which is why time exists actually, so that it can slow down the unity of all and everything now to a level where we can get our heads around it. We can actually understand things. We need time to do that. And that's Saturn's job, is to give us time. So Saturn is entering this Sabian degree and influencing it. And the Sabian degree is influencing Saturn because each, both Saturn and the Sabian symbol, is an energy configuration, because that's all that there is. So when any planet goes through any sign or any specific Sabian degree, there's an interaction occurring, because that's the nature of life. There is only interaction between energy configurations. There isn't anything else going on. So Saturn and the Sabian degree are changing each other. Now, Saturn is becoming more hopeful. The symbol of the dove, of the descent of Holy Spirit, the end of hard times, is making Saturn a little bit less mean and serious and pessimistic than its reputation would suggest, which is not a fair reputation, to be honest. But it's what people put onto Saturn, and Saturn becomes that because that's their interpretation of it. But it's not mine. I'm quite happy with my Saturn. I have a trine with my moon, so my Saturn is lovely. It just gives my moon somewhere to be and feel safe. So Saturn can also do that, and it's bringing attention to this Sabian symbol, which is not awfully safe, really. The descent of Holy Spirit. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? Have you ever been overwhelmed by Holy Spirit? I remember a time when I was in a meditation group of experts. This was a time when I was beginning meditation, and I stumbled across this group of people that did it all of the time. And there's a particularly powerful room in a place called Buckfast Abbey in Devon in England, and we used to go there on Friday nights, and the meditation was painfully powerful. That's the descent of Holy Spirit, really, if you really do it right. It's beyond us. It's not our dimension. It's a dangerous thing. And here we have Saturn going in there, and Saturn's not put off by that. Saturn knows how to structure everything. And so he's given form to Holy Spirit. Metaphorically, a dove. Well, a dove's just a pigeon, a flying rat, but it's white and it looks beautiful. And Saturn is using this symbolism that we have, that things that look beautiful and they're white indicate sacredness. It's a game, in a sense, of giving form to what is otherwise not interpretable. And the game that's given here is the white dove. It's a very powerful symbol. And that's all it is, a metaphor. And the idea is that we we go into situations which are just normal situations, and yet each one has a message, and the dove is the message bearer, and the dove is the Holy Spirit. So the message of any situation is given to you when you get into that state of Holy Spirit. Well, that just means highly sacred, highly spiritual. Your highest self is communicating with you. And when that occurs, you feel differently. You feel something else is occurring, something beyond the normal. And Saturn is the normal. So we've got a juxtaposition here of what is normal and structured and commonplace and everyday and ordinary Saturn stuff on the one hand, with the descent of Holy Spirit on the other. It's a marriage which is going to produce a wonderful kind of result if you get it right. So how to get it right? What do we do? Well, we do Saturn things properly, and that means efficiently in the earth plane sense. We do what needs to be done, and we do it correctly. We make it so. But also there's this aspect of Saturn which is our access to the spiritual realms. The spiritual realms are ill-defined and unstructured and so on. The Holy Spirit doesn't have a form. But when it's interacting with Saturn, it must take form, because Saturn won't know what it is. Otherwise, Saturn must have form to be, and the Holy Spirit must be gracious to be. So you have this sense in which we will appreciate the sacredness of Saturn. Saturn on its best behavior. Saturn doing everything it can to make us feel light and aware of the light. It's a highly spiritual moment for us. And when Saturn's going retrograde, it looks very carefully indeed at things. It's already careful when it's going forward, but when it's going backwards, it's incredibly careful. So what we're invited to do now, until around the 1st of October, is really consider what there is in our lives that's sacred. We have sacredness, don't we, in our life? But it's not only when we do the meditation. It's not only when we go to pray. That's not all the sacredness. It could be when you're playing music, or when you're playing with the children, or when you're appreciating nature, or when you're cooking or eating. There's lots of moments when you could actually understand that sacredness is not over there or up there or for others. It's here and now, in all the small things. That's what we can do.